Welcome everybody, this is Christian from Sterling Knight Gamers, and today I'm going to continue my tips, tricks, and battle tactics series for Star Trek Ascendancy with the Ferengi. The Ferengi are definitely a very unique race. They're one of the expansions that I enjoy the most, and they're a great person to play with or to play as in particularly larger games. In a 2 or a 3 player game, I probably wouldn't choose to be the Ferengi, but in 4 or 5 or more players, they're definitely a great race to include. Their main disadvantage is the Ferengi may never build culture nodes. Ferengi never add their ascendancy level to hegemony attempts. Essentially, the Ferengi have no culture. They don't convince other people to join them, they spy their way. Their advantage is, during the building phase, the Ferengi may buy culture for 5 production each. The Ferengi may build production nodes on any available spot, regardless of the capacity type. I wouldn't ever go over science nodes. I think science are still important for the Ferengi as well, but all those culture nodes that you come across on other planets, you're just going to have to turn them into production mode. Now, if you conquer another planet that has a culture, I believe you get to keep those as well, but for the most part, for Ferenginar, your capital, homeworld, probably going to be the only planet producing culture for you. So you just got to make as much production as possible. So definitely seek out other civilizations as soon as you can and become allies with them. Most players will be more than willing to welcome a Ferengi player. They may only give you their 1 or their 2 trade production because they know how much money you're going to be making from trade as well, but once you've gotten that trade agreement, try to get a ship into each one of their planets so both you and that other player will make as much production as possible. Now, providing the rivals a lot of production as well puts you at a little bit of a risk. Maybe one day they'll conquer you with all that, but for the most part, most players will be appreciative and not want to turn off that tap of production until it's really close to the end game and you're lucky. Maybe you can have 25 production and you can suddenly get an ascendancy level each turn. They may start turning against you then, but if you help someone out and produce a lot of production for them and they can go after and conquer other people, they may be able to hold on to you. So the Ferengi are definitely great allies. They help you out, particularly with the Federation. If you get that trade and the science advantage in one of the technologies, the Federation aren't super militaristic, so they're less likely to try to conquer you. And you're both trying to do that ascension game, and hopefully you can play off the other races against each other. Their fleets aren't as good as some of the other ones, particularly in the early on game. Their larger fleets only go up to 7, so that's a little bit of a disadvantage. In terms of what your first fleet would be, I would probably do either the Franchise Establishment Flotilla or the Commerce Enforcement Squadron. The Commerce Enforcement Squadron may be a little bit better on in the very beginning because it can enter warp without exhausting command. So that could just be the last thing that you could do, and then the next turn you just exit out of warp, and you can explore that way by just having it be one system further away from your last situation, even if you're drawing a new one. Once you've come across another civilization, definitely get the Franchise Establishment Flotilla, put it in warp, and then let it drop each one of those ships off at colonies, as well as systems that are likely to become colonies of your new ally, and that way you can start racking in the money. In terms of your starting technology, a discount when you're purchasing ships. Rule of acquisition number 3, never spend more for an acquisition than you have to. You buy 2 ships, you get 1 free, very useful. Just try to build your ships in groups of 3 that way and you'll be fine. Especially even early on in the very beginning, just build 2, get 1, and you have production for your next system. Another really good one is never place friendship over profit, or a contract is a contract but only between Ferengi. If there's really aggressive players, the bigger the smile, the sharper the knife could be useful in order to turn off the tech that they could be using against you, as well as researching war is good for business. Mid-game, sleep can interfere with opportunity, expand or die, and knowledge equals profit are also good technologies for you. For the Ferengi, don't try to win militarily. Definitely upgrade your shields and maybe even your weapons if you're producing a lot of science. Get a lot of technology so your warp becomes really good. But for the most part, just hold on to a handful of systems, hopefully high production systems, and just focus on trade and getting as much ships out there as possible. You may even run out of ships. Whenever we play a 5-player game, the Ferengi are usually the first ones to run out of ships. You may want to invest in an escalation pack if you really love being the Ferengi and you have it play as well as possible. But unfortunately, you have to do that with the other races in order to make it fair. They're a great race. They're a lot of fun. For a 4-player or beyond game, I always want to have at least one Ferengi on the board, even if it's not myself. They help everyone else that they're trading with, and they're a fun faction to play as. They're middle ground deal breaker where no one wants to be super aggressive against them. You want to get that profit too. I hope this has been helpful. Do you enjoy playing as the Ferengi? And what is your favorite race to play as, and what strategies do you use for them?